Alien 8 UK.
Welcome back. You found it again. The UFO Files. Broadcasting round the clock on Alien 8 UK. Red-eye listeners, insomniacs, sky watchers, van drivers on the long haul. You're tuned to the only station that stares back at the dark with you. 24 hours, we circle the same old questions. Lights over the north, shadows over the south. Phone lines open, headphones on, blinds half drawn. I got case notes spread like takeaway menus. Highlighters bleeding through until sunrise. Coordinates scribbled on coffee stained napkins from a truck stop somewhere near the east coast. We don't do jump scares here, we do the long stare out the window at 3:33 a.m. when the estate's asleep and the sky feels too crowded. You call him with that voice, half whisper, half there. First time chatter, long time watcher, and the hairs rise on every neck in frequency range. Maybe it's satellites, maybe it's stories we tell, so we're not alone in these flickering terraces and rented rooms. Either way, keep your dial right here. This is the UFO Files. Alien 8 UK. All night, every night. Welcome back.
Signal acquisition initiated. Cross-referencing anomaly archives. Pattern recognition complete. Aether 8 online. Proceed.
Super Chat and Super Stickers are now active. Join the Alien 8 UK community now. Share and subscribe for more.
Hello, welcome to an edition of the UFO Files and Alien 8 UK. We're not doing reality check this Wednesday. Nicole is joining me for our wonderful guest this evening or this afternoon, depending where you are. So hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Delays due to
me wear this ridiculous headset because even though I have my speakers on every week.
Well, anyway.
Is it better?
Miles better.
Right.
I've not one complaint.
This is my gamer
it's all
headset.
good. Yeah. Right. So, because we are like 10-15 minutes behind, that makes a big difference. But I'm going to bring our guest on. So, please welcome the wonderful Inspector Roy Teague. Hello, Roy. Thank you so much for coming on. Really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. I don't know about wonderful. But I appreciate the label all the same. Andy, Nicole, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
No, thank you for getting in touch. And literally, as you emailed me the other day, I was scrolling through my emails and it just popped up. I'm like, yes, right, reply now because I will forget.
It was a world record reply, probably in about 30 seconds. It's pretty good, mate.
Yeah, I was literally, because I'd been off a couple of weeks, I was catching up on emails and all that. So I was deleting a lot of the rubbish ones that were on there. And then Ryan messaged me and I'm like, oh my God, yes, I need to get him on as soon as. So.
And obviously that wasn't a rubbish email. It was the best email you've had for, the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Thanks, mate.
Can't complain. No, thank you. So let's jump straight in. So you are in the police force, you're an inspector, and you take accounts and stories from other police officers serving and retired that have had UAP UFO encounters. Is that correct?
That is correct. And paranormal, cryptid, anything of the unexplained. So
Ah.
so probably about 250 officers now interviewed over probably the last 4 or 5 years. So it's a big number.
Yeah. So do you find it easier interviewing other PCs, policemen, policewomen, because of the job you do, or do you find it a little bit more difficult because it's not your normal everyday goings on what you guys tend to deal with?
I mean, I'll be honest, I tend to find it easier to interview fellow law enforcement officers on the basis that they probably know the types of questions I'm going to ask them. And even before I've asked them, they're already thinking, I know what he's going to ask. So they will just say it and get it right out straight away, amount of times their observation, the distance they were from whatever they saw, the UAP, the visibility, what the obstructions like, the weather, the speed, all of that stuff, they'll just come out with without me really having to drag it out.
Second nature. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So what got you started in this? Was there like a case that you were investigating and something came up, UFO, cryptid, or was it an interest beforehand?
It's something I've always been interested in since I've been a young kid. I was kind of skeptical and sort of then on the fence, and I wasn't really sure whether the UAP phenomenon was real, but I was always interested in it as a kid. But it wasn't until 2016 when I came home from work and I caught a documentary called UFOs and Nukes by Robert Hastings about UFOs that were over American missile bases, and it rendered their nuclear missiles at those bases inoperable. And that's what made me think, well, why would military personnel make that up? These are great witnesses. And then I started thinking, who else makes great witnesses? And of course, police officers, by virtue of the training, make great witnesses. So I then started to collate those sightings myself and delve into the weeds of those cases and start writing them up and putting them together and investigating them.
Very cool.
So with you doing that, did you ever have any, before you started doing this, did you ever get called out on a job to where it was some sort of paranormal goings on?
I've never had that.
No.
I've never had a UAP experience myself. I've never been called to one. I know officers that have been sent to them. And of course, there's the hundreds of officers that have spoken to me, but I've never been called out to one, or I've never even seen one. It's just something within me that drives me forward to try and investigate these things and bring these really great accounts into the public eye.
Right, got you. No, I just wasn't sure because obviously we'd not had that conversation and what have you. But do people now get in touch with you direct rather than you having to chase them? Are they able to find you? Yeah,
I mean, I actually once the book Close Encounters of the Police Crime was released, which was the 2nd of July, it was released. Since then, my email box has just become clogged. So I've had to create a second email address to pay for, just for the volume that are sort of coming through now. But if anyone does want to send me an email, they don't have to be in the police. They could be any sort of job. But you want to talk to me about something, and it would be contact@policingtheunexplained.com, and they can just send me an email. But I've had tons of them now, buddy.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of like...
So is it like ongoing?
Yeah, it's ongoing. So, I've probably had another 30 or 40, emails since the book's come out from, people from the police, the NHS, fire service, military. I've had one from a pilot recently, but their accounts are no more important than a member of public. It was just that I started to specialize in accounts from police officers, but it's grown from there. But I'll respond to anybody that is, if anybody takes the time to send me an email, I think the least I can do is email them back. So I will always respond to an email from any person.
Now, when you're going through these cases, do you ever get anything that's like, okay, this person's a little off their rocker?
Yeah, sometimes, if I'm quite honest. But that's why when I interview people, I always operate on the ABC principles: accept nothing, believe no one, and check everything. When I interview someone, I always there's a gold, silver, and a bronze standard of interview. So gold standard is in the same room with them, so you can look them in the eye. I think NVCs are important. Non-verbal communication. Can they look me in the eye? Are they shuffling the feet? All the rest of it. Silvers, as we are now, over the air, but I can still see your, you know, your very handsome face, Andy, and your very beautiful face, Nicole. So I can see you guys, and you can see me. So you can get a feel of someone when you talk to them. And the bronze standard, of course, is over the phone when you can't. So I have had a few times when I've spoken to people, and I'm thinking, I'm not quite sure about this. I've had people claim that they've been a member of the police service. In fact, I've had 3 or 4. And then, of course, I'm going to do my due diligence, aren't I? And I'm going to do some checks. And I found out that, you know, those people have never been in the police, or they were in the police, but they weren't in the role that they professed that they were in. I've seen people who've sent pictures that are clearly Photoshop, you know, and I think, well, if you're going to do that and liberate a profession or a role within the profession, that then doesn't give you any credibility about the story then coming to me, and I wouldn't progress that, you know, any further. But I have had some strange people, and my job, once I've interviewed them, is to separate the wheat from the chaff, you know, as the saying goes. I want bona fide, credible witnesses that are going to bolster the case that the UAP phenomena is absolutely real, because in my opinion, it certainly is.
Yeah.
It's a long way of saying, yes, Nicole, I have spoken to some people that are off their rocker. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, John Hanson.
Yeah,
correct?
John Hanson, I know very well. John Hanson's a terrific guy. And to be fair, I don't know if I'd be sat here talking to you if it weren't for John Hanson. So I started talking to John in 2019, bumped into him at a conference in Woodbridge, down at where the Rendlesham Forest Incident occurred.
Yeah.
And we got talking, and you know, he served, I think, 27 years in the police. And then, as a result of, you know, talking to John and doing a few projects with him, eventually I've branched out and I've gone my own way. But yeah, I know John very well. He's got a UFO, like a UFO learning centre. He's got in Exhall at his home. So if anyone is around there, I'd encourage them to go and see it. And the other person worthy of mention for me is someone I still revere and look up to now, and that would be Gary Heseltine, who created PRUFOs, Police Report UFO Sightings, kind of the Iron Mike Tyson, in my opinion, of like police UFO investigators. So 2 really good guys. And of course, what you kind of do as you go through life is you go, well, I like the way he's done that, and I like the way he's done that, and she's done that, and you kind of you get bits and bobs together, and you become your own person. So I know John very well, and he's a great guy, and he's helped by Shirley Edwards, his partner down at Exeter at the great you know, UFO Learning Centre. Terrific people. Yeah,
I'm supposed to be going down to his archives in the next few weeks. So as soon as he's available and I am, we're going to meet up, and Shirley's going to make me a bacon sandwich.
I've had that bacon sandwich, and
is it worth going for?
There just for the bacon sandwich, mate.
Excellent, perfect. Don't need any more encouragement than that. So I've got some questions for you, if that's okay.
Fill your boots, mate.
So the first one was one that I asked you off air because I wanted to double check what you can and can't talk about. So I asked you, was there any repercussions with you starting this, with you still like serving in the force? Did anyone try and say, look, it's not the best thing for you to be doing at the moment because of your role in the police? Or was everyone, or not everyone, but was they getting like, yeah, go for it, I think you should do it?
No, they absolutely weren't saying go for it. No.
No.
I did have some concerns before I started the book, and the reason was because I know how badly, in my opinion, some of the police officers that are serving have been treated by their departments for investigating the UAP subject. For example, Alan Godfrey with his missing time incident in Todmorden in 1980, eventually drummed out of the service. I know Gary Heseltine had some problems when he was doing it whilst he was in the service. There was an El Paso Reserve Deputy Sheriff, Chuck Zukowski, and he was hounded out of his job in the States across the pond. So he challenged a departmental rationale online that attributed a series of cattle mutilations to predators. He challenged that and said, no, I think it's got a UFO connection. And he mentioned that on his own blog. And within 2 days, he was visited by Colorado deputy sheriffs who relieved him of his gun badge and ID and fired him for challenging. You can read all about it online, for challenging departmental rationales online. So I had that at the forefront of my mind. I was worried about how it would affect my professional reputation within the service, what the officers I work alongside would think, and I was concerned about what the senior officers would think. I did have a couple of people I really respect and like who were above me in rank in the service, and they said, look, Roy, there's a bit of concern with this, because at the time I was on the firearms operations unit, and if you go out and shoot someone, or you command an operation as a tactical firearms commander and someone gets shot, people are going to say, well, you knew he was mad because he was chasing UFOs and you've let him in charge of this armed operation, or you've let him carry it. So this was on their mind. But I don't think that it means that you're crazy just because you believe that the UAP topic is real. We've had presidents and prime ministers and politicians that believe it's real, and of course for questions to be asked, at Parliament and at Congress and all the rest of it. But it would appear if you're a serving constable, especially in the United Kingdom, there's a problem with it. So, I was told it's not a police matter. Well, I would argue against that, because why don't we talk about abduction? Why don't we talk about kidnapping? Why don't we talk about false imprisonment? And these are all things that are attributed to the UAP phenomena. So, in my professional opinion, and it is rather sad, I think that there are people in the police now who do not hold me in the same regard that they did 6 months ago, purely because of my interest in UAP. And I think that is it's a real shame, Andy, but it only encourages me to look and dig deeper. Yeah,
but I'm gonna go down this path. I don't really do this, but it's only like if you go to church, Sunday mass, or anything like that, it's something you believe in, regardless of what it is. That shouldn't have any effect on the job you do. If you're more than competent of doing that job, what does it matter what you believe in?
I don't think it does. And you make a really good point. 95% of the world's population believe in a deity of some kind, whatever God it is that you pray to. And of course, what evidence do we have of God? Well, none save a book that was written 2,000 years ago. Now, I'm not mocking religion, because I do have my own beliefs, and I never would mock religion.
No.
But what I am saying is I am coming at you with sworn testimonies from servants of the Crown, guardians of law and order. There are hundreds of thousands of people across this planet who will come and get you with evidence. CCTV, there's the latest releases from the Department of Defense and the Pentagon. There's a lot more evidence that UAP is real than what religion is. But you're mocked if you say UAP is real, despite the evidence, but you're not if you say that you believe in God. And who is to say that, the good Lord works in mysterious ways? Maybe he created life forms that are like us, but even more intelligent. Who is to know? But it's a sticky subject that people try and wriggle away from, and a bit of an uncomfortable moment in people's chairs when you start talking about it. But I think the correlation between the two, it can be a bit hypocritical when it's discussed.
Yeah, totally agree with you on that.
How does your belief in UAPs and cryptids and paranormal things affect your actual police work?
Not at all. No, doesn't come into it whatsoever. I've got my sideline for UAP and cryptids and all matters of the unexplained. But when at work, when you're at work as a police officer, for me, it's AB. You're all business. So when I go to work, I park it. I don't think about it. I just concentrate on, getting bad guys locked up, proper criminals, keeping good people safe in the beds at night. And for me, the most important thing, equally as important as the first two, are looking after the welfare of the officers that I've got the high honour of supervising. But he doesn't come into it.
But you're going to tell me, if you get a call, right, that says, oh, we saw a suspect in the woods, he's 7 foot tall and hairy, you're not going to think Bigfoot?
No, but what I can say is, so obviously UAP and law enforcement, your duties are separate.
Yeah.
But if I were on duty and such a call came in, would I go, I'm going to go to that one? Of course I would. Of course I would. Because it's an opportunity, because I can go there lawfully and I've got a reason to go, and I'm going to go because, yes, I have got an interest. It's like saying, oh, there's some trouble just inside, Wembley Football Stadium. And if you're in the Met and England are playing, but you couldn't get a ticket because you're working, so there's a bit of trouble inside the stadium. We need someone to go and stand in there. You're going to go and go, well, I'm going to around the corner. So it would be something like that. Of course, I would go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And conversely, how does it affect your investigations? I know you said your investigation techniques, but do you ever go out in the field?
Yeah, so if I get something, and I think, well, it's not too far away, and look, I'm going to be honest, that's a bit of a fib. If it is far away, I'm still going to go. So, I've been to. It's not my speciality, and I don't want to get involved in the Rendlesham Forest incident because too many people have done that to death, and there's a lot more people out there with more knowledge than me. But I've been to like the Berwyn Mountains, Suffolk, Rendlesham Forest.
Yeah.
I've been to London and spoken to people there about things they've seen above the city and all the rest of it in the sky. So what I do is, if I'm going somewhere, like to visit a friend or for personal reasons, I will think, what witnesses do I know down there, and I will try and coincide that with a visit. But if something particularly spectacular, was communicated to me tonight, wherever, I most likely would go, no matter how far away that was.
I've got an add-on to that question. So say you went and it was like Rendlesham, there was evidence that a UFO had been there and all this other stuff. Would you be, you don't have to answer this if you don't want, it's entirely up to you. Would you be able to, or would you be tempted to get forensics down there to do the tests before anyone else got there? Could you authorize that?
Well, you can only, now I get why you're asking it. And, probably,
just so to get the real evidence before anyone else turns up and contaminates it.
Well, it would depend why we were sent there. It would need to be for a policing reason for police officers to be sent there. And then also, if you're going to ask for forensics to turn up, it's got to be for a policing reason. So, if I'm saying, well, can you come here because we think Bigfoot's been here, I probably wouldn't get away with that. But if I said, look, there's been an intruder trying to break into somewhere, and can we take some plaster casts of his bare feet or his trainers, stick our prints, as we say. Maybe there would be a reason to send them. But anytime you do anything whilst you're on duty in the police, it's got to be with a policing purpose, because quite rightly, that's what the public pay the taxes for. And I can't in all good conscience start using police time to go and investigate UAPs and this, that, and the other.
No.
So they would be mad and I'd get in trouble. But as soon as that minute goes past, 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 7, whenever I'm off duty, I'm down there and I'm going to find out what's going on. But it would need to be for a policing purpose. Yeah.
But you could word it so it would be for that. Yeah.
Possibly.
I said you don't have to answer.
There is a real cause.
Oh, yes, obviously.
A real policing reason. If Bigfoot is harassing people,
people
scared,
it would be a public safety issue, and it would only be right and proper that the police investigated that, because the number one mission of the police is to save life and limb and prevent injury, isn't it? So let's get down there and some investigations for Bigfoot then.
And just on the off chance that it's not a person who's dressed up and just causing havoc somewhere, you've got to double check all these things.
Either way, it's a win-win, and we better get down there and see what's going on.
Yes,
exactly.
Now Andy's going to be causing some havoc in the woods, so you have an excuse to go out.
Definitely not. I don't have time. Right. So
we have a bunch of questions already.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question, then we'll jump onto questions from the chat. Out of the 250 plus officers you've interviewed, was there a case you almost didn't believe until you did the investigation further?
Yeah, there was. And I feel bad about it, because bear in mind, some of these are incredible cases. So there was a guy called Paul Hammond, and what he told me, I thought, that's so incredible, that's too incredible to be true. And I found a corroborating witness who hadn't seen him for 30 years or whatever it was, long time, and he corroborated it. And it was basically, they were on board of a helicopter, and a UFO, a dart-shaped UFO, they were circling with the helicopter, shot forward into a hole that appeared in the sky. The UFO went into it, closed up behind it, and disappeared. So that was July the 5th, 1997. And I thought, crikey. But this was a guy in, 1997.
Sorry,
so
can I just stop you on that? So was there any, because I had a very similar experience in 1997 in Manchester.
Yeah.
I seen a thing shoot across the sky, this metallic thing, ball. It had a electric blue horizontal streak behind it. It stopped suddenly. A red vertical thing opened up in the sky. It went through it, then it all closed behind it.
Well, I mean, it's the similarities in that and differences in
Yeah.
it, because there's no red light or red light coming off anything. It's
Yeah.
just one metallic craft that these guys have seen shoot forward. But the dynamics of it and the MO of it disappearing into a hole in the sky are the same. But
Yeah.
when you're speaking to people who tell you that, you're thinking, really? But then when you do your due diligence and you find a corroborating witness who hasn't spoken, so the corroborating witness was an army officer, warrant officer, first class David Frampton. They hadn't
Yeah.
spoken for years. It took me quite some time to track him down. And I asked him about the incident. He was a bit reticent to talk. And I just said, look, I've spoken to the officer you're on the aircraft with. And he said, oh, okay, I'll tell you. So I didn't tell him and say, did that happen? I went, tell me what happened. I got them
Yeah.
both to draw sketches, which both the sketches are in the book. But that was probably the first one I thought, that's a big step for me. Because as I say, when I started to collate these cases, I was a skeptic on the fence. Now I've gone from believing beyond all reasonable doubt, Andy, that these craft do exist in the skies above our country and the rest of the world. But that was the first one I thought,
Yeah.
But I absolutely believe the guy now. He's got nothing to gain and everything to lose by coming forward. And he even has allowed himself to be named, as has the corroborating witness.
Do
So
you
what
know
would-
what area that was? Sorry, just quickly. Do you know what area of the UK that was?
Yeah, I can
You
tell you exactly
remember?
where it was. It was just above the South Bank in London.
Oh, right.
And
Okay.
there was no reason for that to be there. Heathrow confirmed they could see nothing on radar. It was a no-flight zone anyway because it's a security area. You've got Downing Street there, on your Houses of Parliament.
Yeah.
All the rest of it shouldn't have been there. So this is an engagement with the UAP in 1997 with the police helicopter. They never told nobody about it because they were scared that it would result in them losing the jobs, right?
Yeah.
And or at very least being booted off the air support unit. And 18 years before then, a good friend of theirs had also been on a helicopter launched from Lippets Hill and had been involved in an aerial pursuit of a barrel-shaped UFO over London that had eventually shot up into the clouds. Now, that officer was William Humphrey Bishop, interviewed by John Anson, who we've spoken about before. And he was grounded because he had told the helicopter pilot to chase the UFO type thing. And the only reason he was reinstated onto the air support unit is because he agreed to give a statement to the RAF. And he asked the RAF, well, what was it we chased? What were these barrel-shaped UFOs? And the RAF squadron leader said to him, we believe that was a probe from a much larger craft higher up. Now, that officer was ridiculed and stigmatized for 18 years. So, of course, 18 years later, when Paul Hammond had his sighting along with David Frampton, is it any wonder why they said nothing and told no one? And only now, years later, as he very kindly come forward and given me the story, both of them to put into the book. I think I've interviewed now the crews of 4 helicopters, but I can tell you, Andy, and I can tell you, Nicole, they would never have come forward if it wasn't one of their own asking the questions. So, make no mistake, these interviews are law enforcement asking law enforcement about a phenomena that has remained hidden behind the badge for decades.
Yeah.
So
well, you're going to have that level of trust because obviously you're doing the same type of work and the training and everything that you've got. So there's going to be some. There is
an instant bond
anyway.
when you start talking to a former or serving officer because you understand how things work. You've lived the life. You get each other. So they open up and they will tell me a lot more.
Yeah.
So what would kind of your smoking gun evidence be? I mean, you have a lot of stories, you have a lot of eyewitness accounts you can corroborate, but like, what would it take to be like, this is proof for you?
For me, I mean, personally, I feel because of the volume of the witnesses I've spoken to, I'm happy I've got enough. Well, nobody's got proof because if there was proof, it would be in all the newspapers and we'd all know it, wouldn't we? So I don't think this is something I'm ever going to prove. And I don't even think that the government and the authorities would admit the fact UAP was real, even if a flying saucer crashed into the White House or landed outside Downing Street. So I don't think I'll ever get proof. What I do is I collate the stories, put them in the public eye, so that people can make their own mind up about each individual count when they've read it. So that's my goal. And also what I want people to know is that this is happening, not to, someone that works in quick save or fixes your car down the road as a mechanic, although it's not happening to normal members of the public. This is happening to sworn police officers. Your police officers in the United Kingdom are seeing these things, and they have been seeing them since, the 60s up until the present day. So I guess it's my way of saying to the public, look, you're not alone. Your cops are seeing these things too, and it's time we should talk about it and have honest dialogue, and not hide behind this veil of secrecy and this veil that anyone that says and professes that they've seen a UAP is somehow off their rocker.
That's going to be your new phrase now, isn't it?
Yeah. Roy Teague, off his rocker. Yeah.
Right, I'm going to jump to one of the questions only because in relation to what you've just spoken about. So this is from Darren, baby with a laser, and he's put, is Freemasonry still a big thing in the police? Could this be a reason to be shunned for your interest in UAPs?
No, I mean, I think when it comes to Freemasons in the police, I think it was a huge thing back in the day, because I imagine if you were in the organization, the Freemasons back in the day, perhaps you got a leg up and you were promoted over people that were more deserving because of your ownership of that. But what I can tell you is that's completely not the case, and it hasn't been for a long time in the police. They actually brought a scheme in called the HBDS, High Potential Development Scheme, as a way of trying to combat that. So I've got no problems with Freemasonry. I understand it's the second largest contributor to charitable causes in the UK, second only to the National Lottery. So it's great for that, but I wouldn't be happy if I found out people getting a leg up because of their membership of that organization. I don't think UAPs and Freemasonry sort of has a causal link.
No. All right. Cheers for that. Have you got any questions, Nicole, or do you want me to do the next one?
Let's jump into the questions first, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more the more we get into things.
Yeah. So this next one is from Joe, and she's put, just finished your book, Roy. I may have an incident you are interested in from 1994.
Well, that's great. Now, if I was to say I'm not interested, I'll probably be the worst UFO investigator in the entire world. So, Joe 6515. If you want to email me at contact at Policing the Unexplained, I guarantee I'll read your email and I guarantee I'll reply, and I'm sure I'll be really interested in what you've got to tell me.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Right. Next one is from Stephen Collin, and he's put in, I hate it when it's...
I was waiting for you to try to read that one.
I'll let you read this one.
Did Lonnie Zamora have a tough time too in New Mexico when he had his encounter?
I mean, never met him. It's quite, that's quite a historic incident now. That is the one, I believe, where there was a bright light in the road and he ended up on the police car was on its roof and there was some missing time. I know that he, I read an article where he said he regretted speaking to the national press because it made him quite a celebrity. I personally am glad he came forward, because if he didn't, we'd never know about the incident. But from the reports I've read, he did have a hard time because of the naysayers not believing him. And then his own boss is saying, well, you've made this up just to justify overturning a police car and, smashing into a ditch and all the rest of it. So I imagine he did have a tough time, for sure. I've crashed maybe a few police vehicles in my time, and I can tell you the paperwork's endless and there's always questions to answer. It gets messy, and the bosses don't really like it.
I can imagine.
Next one.
Right. So this is from the Disabled Welshman. Hi, Roy. Have any of your workmates ever admitted to you in confidence that they have had an encounter with a UFO or a cryptid? Thank you.
A few of them, yes, they have. A couple of them are in the book, and I've had a couple also tell me that they've of paranormal incidents that they've been a part of, and that they've experienced. The one is a lady who's a nurse at a hospital. I call that story the stalking nun. I know a guy who gave a lady a bandage at the side of the road after a fatal road traffic collision, and then went to the car and went to help out one of the people in the car. And it was the woman he'd just given the bandage to at the side of the road, and he turned round and she was no longer there on the side of the road, a guy called Michael Davis. So I will always tell you, yeah, exactly. It makes your hair stand up on the back of your neck. So what I bring to you, Andy and Nicole, and the rest of the world are named witnesses, in the main named witnesses, because a lot of these stories come with, they're old wives' tales. It was John in the pub who told me about Fred, who spoke to some guy on holiday. I don't give you that. I will tell you, Sergeant Michael Davis of Warwickshire Police handed a bandage to a lady at the side of the road, then ran to the car. Deceased lady in the car, moved her back to get her out the footwell. Noticed she had the same head injury as the lady on the pavement, same clothes, turned around, lady on the pavement's gone, and this deceased lady in the vehicle. So I've had a ton of people tell me some really, crackers stories, but just because the stories are crackers, it doesn't mean they're not real, folks.
No.
That is a good story. That's like the kind that turns into like urban legend, like campfire story. But the fact that you have a name and details, and I'm sure if it comes from a member of, the police force, times and dates and places.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Davis is a lovely guy. It's a terrific guy, and I've met him a few times now. And at the time he went to that fatal road traffic collision, he was Warwickshire Police's lead fatal road traffic collision investigator. So he's a guy with a lot of experience dealing with very unfortunate situations. So, as credible witnesses go, he's right up there.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing with RTAs and that, you have to take note of the environment, the weather conditions, other traffic on the road, the surrounding area. So he's going to have an eye for detail on every single little bit. If there's any damage to the road, traffic furniture, road furniture, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
it's going to be on point.
You go through investigative training when you join the police, even just describing people, A to H, age, build, colour, distinguishing marks, elevation, face, gait, out of the water, what was their height, individual marks, what jewellery they're wearing, what was the hair like, all these things. There's a case where we were criticised at court for not doing very good statements back in I think it was the late 70s, early 80s, and the judge said, this is awful, and he was right. And that was the case of R.V. Turnbull. And so as a result of that, we got the word advocate, amount of time under observation, distance from the subject, or UAP, visibility, what was the obstruction, have you known or seen the suspect before, or I would say to the witness investigating UAP, have you known or seen a UAP before, because of the hitchhiker effect, where sometimes people see these things and then they see them again because these things latch onto them, or they've been chosen. So by virtue of the training, you get very, very good at asking the questions and incorporating that to UAP investigations.
And very good at making acronyms.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I have another question. So, it's more of, can you kind of walk me through the process you would take on this? So Andy saw a not air balloon. So it kind of looked like a hot air balloon, but it followed alongside the car.
I have
you got
images.
a couple pictures of it. So what would your kind of process be if, an officer came to you and said, hey, I saw this?
Okay, so the process is I would sit Andy down, or the officer, whoever, and if you just bear with me, because I want you to understand what I would do.
Yeah.
So of course I'd be wanting to do, I wouldn't accept what the witness had told me. Remember, accept nothing, believe no, and check everything. I want to do it in person, gold standard, look them in the eye. And the first thing I would do is I'd take a statement from them, tell me what you've seen. I'd look at it, and then I'd go to what I call the rule out list. Now I've got a list of probably 50 or 60 things. Drones, lasers. I'd be saying, could it have been a plastic bag in the wind? Could it have been a balloon? Could it, and if you're saying to me, no, it wasn't, I would say, tell me why it wasn't. And you might say, because it maintained a certain flight trajectory, it maintained an altitude, all that stuff. Now, if I can rule out the 50 or 60 things on my rule out list, which is tough, including planets and airplanes and meteors and flares and all that stuff, what I then do is I'll look at secret military craft being tested. Now, we are a clever species, and we've developed crafts that can do, thousands of miles an hour. The fastest thing that mankind's built is a HGV. That's not a heavy goods vehicle. That's a hypersonic glide vehicle. It's a Russian nuclear missile. Mach 27 does 22,000 miles an hour. So we can build these things. We're smart, right? So how do I differentiate between non-human tech and something we've built, and that is things like right angle trajectory at ridiculous speeds that we can't do, and from bullet exit where something from a standing start goes to thousands of miles an hour like that. We can't do that. We can go at thousands of miles an hour, but there's got to be a process to get the afterburners, all the rest of it. So if I can rule everything out off my rule out list, and I can rule out craft of secret military craft being tested, that's when I go to the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle very famous line that he wrote in one of his Sherlock Holmes novels, and he said this: when you've eliminated the impossible, no matter what remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. So if it's impossible that what you saw was on my rule out list, if it was impossible that it was secret military craft being tested, no matter whatever remains, non-human tech, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. But the trouble is, it's very hard to get there. Of the 250 officers I interviewed, I would suggest, if the accounts are as per the officers have told me, I would suggest 8 are absolutely non-human tech. So, but it takes a long process to get there. I might have to re-interview you again and again and again.
Yeah. Do you do any research like in the field? Because like we emailed hot air balloon companies just to like rule that out.
Yeah, so I do that. Yeah. I do FOI requests, but of course, freedom of information requests only have to be answered by authorities, local authorities and the police. Yeah. I've emailed Birmingham Airport recently, and they're probably sick to death of me now. They just say, "I'm sorry, but we're not bound by the freedom of information. We don't have to give you that." And I've tried the environmental regulations. So if there's something's a health and safety breach, Article 4 of that is they have to give the information out, and I just get refused all the time. But I do try. I do email the companies. I do email the airplane companies. I use Flight Radar. There's an even better app called AD, I think it's SB, and that identifies the planes, the call sign, the company, and I'm forever emailing them. And I always get back a thanks for your email, but can you get your shorts on? Because we're going to tell you to jog on. And you very rarely get any information out of them. But you can do all sorts of things. Like you can look at apps where were planets at the time in the sky. I mean, Venus is probably one of the most misdiagnosed UFOs, out there. You need to be looking at all sorts of things. Like I say, flight apps, where the planets were. Yeah. The list is endless.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did. Oh, just quickly, I did the flight app and all that. That was the one that's in on the day one. Day two, I was going down the A14 from Northampton to Cambridge, and then where the A14 splits for the M11 and then goes towards Norfolk and Suffolk, it stayed with me. I was doing a steady 65 mile an hour all the way, and it stayed with me for 18.2 miles. Stayed on my right hand side. It stayed at the same altitude, same distance, but as I was getting nearer into Cambridge, it was expanding in size. It's still the same distance away,
and
it was just mad.
Yeah, so all I say to people when they look at objects through cars is glass distorts, and because the glass in the window,
put the window down.
Put the window down. There you go.
I don't know, I'm admitting this, but I pulled up in the refuge area, do the emergency stop, just so I could get out to take a photo, just so I know it wasn't a mark on the window.
And that's the one that you just displayed on the podcast.
That is, so it's the one on the left-hand side. So as I said, it looks like a hot air balloon, but when I've got the photos and videos, I can send them across to you. You can clearly see there's no gondola on it, there's no gas bottles, there's no strings, and it's going up into the cloud.
Yeah, I may be able to get someone to look at them for you.
Yeah. Well, I did that much research. I know the rules and regulations of flying hot air balloons. Everyone does now who watches the channel. You can't go into clouds. You can't do it on... only certain times of the year you can do it. It's seasonal.
It's funny you should say about the A14, because there's two roads that all stick in my mind for UAP sightings. And the one is the A14, the other one's the A66. But I interviewed an officer, David Flanagan, who in 73, just past Bury St Edmunds near the sugar factory.
Oh, yeah.
He believes he may have been abducted.
Oh.
So there's a lot going on that road. I've interviewed two officers that believe they've been abducted. One was on duty, one was off duty, and they're real head scramblers. I'll be honest with you, they are. But the A14, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
How do you explain that? It's like, oh, you didn't show up for this call. Sorry, I got abducted.
Well, it was. So I'll tell you about the one. I I mean, they're both much of a muchness when it comes to wow cases. The wow factor's great. So 1989, Arborne Police Station, which is up in Scotland. It was Grampian Police before, then it amalgamated. The Seven Forces become Police Scotland. He stood Arborne Police Station next to a police car, 2 a.m. in the morning with another officer. And he gets told over the radio, there's reports of something coming from the east, from Aberdeen in the sky, something strange. Can you tell us if you can see anything? And he says, well, okay, fine, gets the mic. Yeah, no problem in the car. Jumps out. He's having a look. He said he can't see anything, but what he can see coming towards him eventually is what he describes as a rolling power cut. The lights slowly going off, coming towards him.
Yeah.
Then eventually the lamppost goes off right next to the police car. Then the police car cuts out. And he looks up at that point with the other guy and sees a huge matte black triangle flying over the police car, only about 25, 30 feet above the head. Carries on to the west towards a place called Ballatar, and it was lost to the blackness of the sky. But he said to me, Roy, I knew where it was because you could see all the street lights and the house lights going off. I mean, a lot of the house lights were already off because it was 2 a.m. in the morning, but there's always a few on, isn't there? And he could see that going on. Then eventually the lights in the east have all started to come back on. He's jumped back in the car and said, you're not going to believe this. This was only 30 seconds after it had gone over. And since he spoke to the operator, he said, you're not going to believe this. That thing, whatever it is, has flown over our heads. And the operator said to him, where have you been? I've been trying to get hold of you for 30 minutes. Now, the officer stressed to me that he doesn't remember being taken or anything like that. So perhaps time on occasions moves slower or faster around these things. We don't know. But his story doesn't end there, because since then, he's had a load of headaches. And in 2025, last year, he goes and has an MRI. And behind his right eye, there is a small metallic object. And he was like, no, it can't be metallic. I think that's a piece of coal. When I was a kid, me and my sister were throwing bits of coal at each other, and the one struck me on the side of the head. They were messing around, and that's how I got this scar. And I think it might be a piece of coal behind my head. So he's speaking to his sister about it, saying, hey, remember when you threw that lump of coal at me and it cut me and this, that, and the other? And she said, what are you talking about? That never happened. And he said, well, we spoke on it loads of times. And she said, we never have. So he believes the memory of the coal fight was implanted in his head. So he never questioned the scar by his eye. And then he believes the subsequent conversations with his sister about the coal fight were also implanted. Now, when you start thinking about incidents, that unlocks memories and other memories. And he remembers now as a kid and up until the present day on numerous occasions, seeing small sort of creatures around his bed, 4 or 5 feet tall and all the rest of it, believe it or not, but he can't quite see their faces. I know it sounds bizarre, but this is a serving officer who did 30 years. So he believes, with all these things combined, that he probably was or may have been taken on that day, or if not then, certainly has been at some point. Yeah. So it's a fantastic story, and that's just one. You know,
I'm smiling at that because I pulled something out of my nose about 15 years ago. It's like the size of a grain of rice.
You have to give more context. I just pulled something out of my nose.
No, so I felt something in my nose, and I woke up middle of the night and just knew how to remove it, and I was elbow deep into my nostril. It was like right up near my eye, and I pulled it out. It's a little tiny grain of rice, looked like a tiny grain of rice, but hollow. So I put it down on the bedside table. There's blood. You could smell and taste the blood. I knew there's blood everywhere. I got too tired. I'll clean it in the morning. Woke up in the morning, spotless. Not even behind my fingernails, around the bottom, and there was no trace of blood. And this finger had gone missing. But when I was a kid, like 3, 4 years old, I'd be laying in bed, and I used to feel that there was different things, 4 or 5 of them, stood around the bed. But I used to watch Hammer House of Horror and like zombie movies and all that. So I pictured it as Wolfman, Frankenstein, Dracula, a zombie. But I was too scared to look from under the cover. I knew it wasn't that, but if I got in my head that it was that, I was all right, because I used to watch them on TV. For me, they wasn't real. But if I was to look from behind the cover and see what they actually was, I don't think I'd have been able to deal with it. So that's why I was smiling at that, because it's very similar to the encounters that I've had. And I had Jessica Jones, the cryptid huntress over in the US. She did a remote view for a couple of different locations for me. And she said from that they're around that area that I've got some missing time. She doesn't think it was an abductee, more of a contactee.
Yeah.
So that's the short version.
Yeah. There's a lot going on that we don't understand.
Yep. So, but I don't know if that ever got put back in or it was some sort of implant.
When you were talking about it, it reminded me of the scene from Total Recall when Arnold Schwarzenegger's pulling out the that tracer. I don't know if you've ever seen the scene. It's like half the size of his head. But and
his face all comes apart.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like it was doing. But I swear, honestly, I was covered in blood. I could smell it. I could taste it. I could feel it dripping down my nose. I'd ripped the membrane from the inside of my nose to get to this thing. And then there's no trace of it. But I had loads of stuff was happening there. There's shadow people. There's UFOs. There was growling outside. There's all weird stuff like on a daily at that place. So, yeah, it just reminded me of that. So I thought I needed to explain to, like, give you the connection with the two. So I'll shut up now anyway.
No, this is yours and Nicole's podcast. Say and ask whatever you like.
Cool. Right. Have you got any more questions, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I got one more, and then we can hit some more chat questions. That's cool.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts, Roy, on where these things come from? Do you fall into the more interdimensional or straight extraterrestrial from other planets?
Good question, and I think the answer is both, personally. So, and just to start with, I think most people are happy there's life elsewhere out in the universe. You could have a weed on Neptune, and like that's the case made out. Most people probably think there's intelligent life out there in the universe, like us, somewhere. People have trouble thinking, has that intelligent life come here? I think it has, but that's where a lot of people sort of fall down and think they're not sure. Now, I think there are UAP craft out there piloted by, not, let's just say it like it is, extraterrestrial biological entities. I believe they're piloted by those, and I believe they've conquered the great distances of time and space. The nearest star to us, Proxima Centauri, is 4.25 light years away, and that's 186,000 miles a second, 671 million miles an hour. If we go at the speed of light, it still takes us 4.25 light years to get that. We can't travel that fast. It would take us 6,300 years to get there at our conventional speeds. Now, I think these life forms have conquered that via wormhole technology or bending space or time or whatever. I think they're that advanced. I also subscribe to the interdimensional theory on the basis that, like you've seen yourself, Andy, and like my colleague Paul Hampton saw over London, and thousands of witnesses have seen all over the globe, have seen things do that. Look at the USO, the unidentified objects that come in and out of water. And I think there's a big case for both. That's what I genuinely believe. And people think, no, that's too much. Nobody can develop technology like that. Well, if you go back in time 300 years and you say to someone, hey, there's this thing called a phone, and if you speak into it, somebody 3,000 miles away in Australia can talk to you on it like that live. You'd think they were mad and probably burn them at the stake for being a witch or a warlock. So who is, in 300 years' time, what will we have created? So if these species are thousands of years, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, millions ahead of us, who is to know what they've conquered? And I think they've conquered the ability, then probably faster than light travel, wormhole technology, and interdimensional technology. I think they've done both.
Well, a thing that keeps popping up, and it only started popping up last week, and it's people in the chat keep bringing it up, and I keep seeing it on all different social media, is quantum tunneling, which is a similar sort of thing. I don't know if you've researched into that.
I've read a little bit about it, but I'm definitely no expert.
It's pretty much
you can do a bit more research on.
Yeah, you can go in a straight line. Whatever's in your way, you kind of like just phase through it, so you don't have to go bend around and all that. It's just
it's to do with a lot of people think that matter is matter because of the vibration that it hums and beats at. So if you can adjust that vibration, you can change matter, so you can pass through other matter. And I know that's been looked at by organizations like the CIA and all sorts of other shady three-letter gangs from the United States for the past 60, 70 years. So it's definitely an interesting theory. There's an old film called Buckaroo Banzai and His Adventures Across the Eighth Dimension. And that film's got Peter Weller in, who starred in RoboCop, and they operate on the same principle about creating this technology in front of the car, which allows them to pass through matter, and he drives through like a mountain and all this type of stuff. So
Right.
if they were making films about it in the 80s, sci-fi films, you can bet your bottom dollar that the governments have been looking into this for 40 or 50 years prior to these films.
But I just think of the Flash, not Flash Garden, the Flash, is it DC? Where they have the Hydron Collider, where he's going around it and he's in it at the same time. And he learns to phase. So he vibrates, and that's how he can pass through solid objects.
Yeah.
So, it's really interesting. If you look at like the declassified CIA documents, the amount of programs and the scope of these programs that they had, and that's just what they're admitting to. That's just the information that they're putting out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. I absolutely agree.
It's like MK Ultra. They admitted to that openly at Montauk, Philadelphia experiment, all connected, all run by the same agencies, same people in charge.
Oh, the mind control. MK Ultra. Yeah. The CIA over the years have been up to all sorts of skullduggery, and they'll only admit anything when they get caught.
Yeah,
I like that word, skullduggery.
Skullduggery.
That's a new one for you. You've both got a new phrase now.
All right, you want to hit a couple more chat questions?
Yep. Sure.
All right. So Stephen Collins wants to know, Roy, did you ever hear the encounter from an off-duty policeman who saw 3 strange entities in a crop circle down Wiltshire Way? He gave his name, but he can't remember it.
Yeah, I did. I'm not sure if the officer gave his name or if it was anonymous. He might have. But I read about it a couple of times, and then the story just seemed to like filter away and disappear as quickly as it comes. So yes, I've heard of it. Don't know if I know the officer's name, but if I did, I'll be trying to track him down in the hope that he's still with us to try and get a bit more information about it. But yeah, Wiltshire, I mean, that is crop circle city, isn't it? I walked the Ridgeway once, the national trail. Lovely trail. All 84 miles of it. And I actually came across a crop circle there, or it wasn't a circle, it was in the shape of an eagle. And they actually had a guy there in a yellow truck, right? And he was from the mobile crop circle investigation team. It did make me chuckle a bit. And he was drawing pictures of it and stuff and sending like little drones up to get pictures of it. So, and the farmer, I always remember it. The farmer was charging £3 to walk into the field. And I remember thinking, well, he's done this just to make £3 off all these people and all the rest of it. But, and he said, well, I know what you're thinking. He said, but I'm telling you now, the amount of wheat that's being destroyed is going to be far, far more in value than what anyone's going to give me. He said, I'm just trying to get some money back for, whatever has caused this crop circle. And he was kind of open-minded about it. But that was just right at the start of the Ridgeway, within a mile, Wow. It was the only crop circle I ever walked in, although it wasn't a circle, it was an eagle.
Yeah.
Crop eagle.
Crop formation. There we go.
Yeah, one of those. In fact, there was one once, and I can't remember when, but it was actually in the shape of an alien with a DNA strand.
Yes, we spoke about that the other week. Yeah. Nicole's going to get it up on screen because she's good at that. What is it called?
It was like it was a half alien face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got like the DNA, like the spirally thing at the side of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a double helix, like a DNA strand.
Yeah. Type in alien head crop circle.
I already found it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's the real one because this looks very fake.
Was this back in the 80s, wasn't it? Early 80s.
It was a while back, yeah. It was a while back, yeah. Yeah.
While Nicole does that, I'll ask you the next question. So this is from 40 and 23. Has Roy ever been told by his superiors to leave a case alone or been warned off an unusual case?
Maybe, yeah.
Right, that's it.
That's it.
Well,
fair enough. Thank you for
All right. Is this the one? Because there's no way this looks real. Hold on.
Go on. I'll tell you. It looks very
in
yeah, this is it.
Bolton?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's legit.
That,
Oh, 2002. I thought it was a lot
in
earlier
no
than
way,
that.
shape, or form looks legit. That is wild.
And
Yeah.
that's about, I think that's like 1/4 mile in length or something. It's like a ridiculous size as well.
Yeah.
From what I
The
can
weird
recall.
thing is about these is that, I mean, look, it's either one or two things. It's either UAP related or Mother Earth, I guess, doing something, or there's just some, and there are some out there, some very good people that are very talented at creating these designs. So you've probably seen, as I have, some people on, YouTube and news reports who go around with a plank of wood and they've got the design in the hand. But how do you do that? You'd have, and also these things are appearing within a couple of hours. How do you do? You've obviously planned it weeks and weeks and weeks in advance, or it's genuine. I think it's a culmination of fake stuff and perhaps some genuine stuff, like the circular ones. I could maybe put that down to ley lines and chakras and all that type of stuff, and etc. etc. I think there might be something to say for those, but I think if you're an alien species and you kind of look like that, I don't think if you wanted to contact the citizens of the planet Earth, you draw that in a cornfield. I think you'd find other ways to communicate.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not
buying
that.
The supposed message that was coded. This little circle thing was a coded message. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. There is good out there. We oppose deception. Conduit closing.
Yeah.
But nobody ever comes forward, not even in 20, 30 years later, to say, you know what, I did that. And maybe they could show some pictures of selfies of themselves doing it, and then I'd be convinced it was them. But they appear, and nobody ever seems to take credit for these things.
And no one gets caught doing it either.
No, I mean, the only people who sort of are known for doing it are the people who eventually have come forward like years later,
Yeah, you said like it's a plank of wood on some rope and they've got 1 foot on it and they're dragging it round so they're not leaving the footprints.
It's an alien kid that's getting bored and flies over a field and decides to do some graffiti.
Well, if that were true, he'd probably be in trouble on the basis that I mean, I think there's the equivalent of what Star Trek called the Prime Directive, where they're not supposed to interfere. Mm-hmm. I think there's, I believe it. I think there's a good case for the zoo hypothesis, where they watch us but don't interfere. Much like you would watch a soap opera, and with the amount of drama that goes on this planet, there's probably a lot of subscribers watching Planet Earth, from wherever they are, because we're a bunch of crazy people, and we're just like children, aren't we? You would go to an alien planet expecting to speak to one species and take me to your leader type thing, but when people come here, you go, right, let's talk to the who we're going to talk to. There's 300 different countries here with 300 different leaders. They're all arguing over oil. They're all arguing over this. They can't get on, and they're a bunch of idiots. And this is probably why they don't talk to us. Although I do believe they may have spoken to some of the governments of this world. And I do believe we've probably got craft and we've probably got bodies and all the rest of it. But that will never be admitted to.
No. It's weird how this like disclosure thing is coming out. They'll admit like certain small things, and we're like, we know this already, but it seems like they're, we just found this out. Not we've been sitting on this for the last 100 years.
They've known for a very, very, very long time, and but like I say, the reason they don't seem to admit these things, I think, is down to fear, because they've got to admit that there's an intelligence far superior than our own coming into our airspace, doing whatever it wants at will. Occasionally stealing our citizens for whatever reason, because if they admit it, we're going to say, well, okay, then what are you going to do about it? And what are they going to do about it? And the answer is the square root of nothing, because they can't. And then, of course, the religious implications that we referred to before.
Yeah.
They're never going to admit it unless they have to.
I think the only time they're going to admit it is if there's some reason that they need us all united. Think of all these big bad things that have happened in the world and the patriotism, the camaraderie that comes right after it. It's like, okay, now we're all on the same team. We all have the same enemy. So if they make aliens, extraterrestrials, the enemy, then the whole world unites.
There was a conspiracy theory, if you remember, going back some years, that I think it was in 2026 or 2027, there was going to be some big psyop fake operation where they were going to use hundreds of thousands of drones around the planet to create the illusion of motherships and this, that, and the other to try and unite mankind. Where that originated from, I don't know. But
Operation Blue Beam, with the holograms and the drones.
Yeah, all that stuff. So I take these things with a pinch of salt. I mean,
but look at the drones over New Jersey. Like they kind of did that. They knew
that was uranium. Yeah, they were looking for dirty nukes.
They let everybody think, whatever they wanted to think. They never came out and said, "Oh, this is us, guys. We're doing a thing." Like, "Oh, it's military. Don't worry." Like they let people speculate.
I think they like people to speculate that it's UAP when it is their craft, because then people don't start saying, what are these great craft you've got? They want sometimes. It serves a purpose on occasion, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't the government, so they officially could say they're not ours, because they was employing agencies to do the drone to look for this uranium that had gone missing, and they needed it left a paper trail so they could track it from where it was to where it had been taken to. And obviously they found it, so it all got sorted out, and that's why it was just shut down. But so they can say it's not ours because it wasn't. They was using these different drone companies to go and search for it with all the LiDAR, UV, IR, thermal imaging and everything else on there.
They aren't lying, but they are, because they're using a play on words, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not really us.
No. We're just paying them to do it, so don't worry.
So basically, it's they're lying via proxy, really. So a lie is a lie.
Yeah. So Lee Hatfield said, "Roy, being an ex-paramedic from the UK, we both have been in situations we didn't like. Have you ever heard about an incident that came across as terrifying?"
I spoke to I tell you what, do you want UAP or paranormal?
I want paranormal.
Okay, we'll go for the paranormal. So this occasion did frighten. It was a nurse, and so it's good you picked paramedic, because we've just had a paramedic do the request. So the beauty of this again is I'm going to come at you with a name. This is a nurse who did 30 years in the NHS and was working at the Royal Hospital. It's now been knocked down, and her name was Amanda Hand, and she was young in service at the time, and her job that evening was she'd been tasked to take a vial of blood through the hospital to a room, put it onto a machine that analyzes the blood very quickly, gives a printout, she runs back to the doctor, and that tells the doctor what is wrong with the patient. Okay, so as she runs through the hospital, she goes through one room, and she's about to go into the room where this machine is, which is about 8 feet by 8 feet, with this machine in it. There's no doors or windows in that room where the machine is, and she's about to go through into the room, and the room doors are those big plastic ones that they used to have, plastic that had bend in a bit so you could push trolleys through them, right? I don't know if you remember those, but anyway,
you go both ways, don't they?
You've got it, Andy, you've got it. So she's about to go through the door. She puts a hand on it, and just the other side of the door, she said, I couldn't believe it, there was a nun dressed in a full habit, with a weird black and white uniform and the hat with a rosary beads, side on, and she could see it perfectly. And she thought, why is there a nun in there? She felt it was weird, it wasn't right. And as she was looking at this nun, after about 7 or 8 seconds, this nun disappears in front of her eyes, doesn't walk off out of sight or run off. And there's no doors or windows in the room, remember. So she doesn't want to go in, but she's got to do this blood analysis. So she goes in, puts the blood in the machine, back to the wall so nobody can sneak up on there, gets the analysis, runs out, hands it to the doctor, and then she tells the staff that are on duty with her what's happened. So they all go down there like out of some old, Boris Karloff film with pitchforks and torch, and all the rest of it. And there's nothing there. And she said to me, I wrote it off as my imagination, although deep down inside, I knew it wasn't. Now, of course, it don't end there, because about 3 weeks later, she's in the chapel of rest. There's a young lady in there who unfortunately has passed away, and her mother, so the mother of the deceased and the sister of the deceased, have come to see the body, and the lady keeps looking behind Amanda the nurse, and she says after a while, "Why do you keep looking behind me? And you've been doing that since you've met me. Why are you doing that?" And the lady said, "Well, I never mentioned it. Please don't think I'm mad, but I'm a medium, and I can see things that other people can't." And she said, "Okay, so don't explain why you're looking behind me. So why are you?" And she said, "Well, you've got someone following you around the hospital." And she said, "Oh, right. Okay, then," not believing it. "What's this person look like?" And the lady said, "Well, you're not going to believe this, but it's a nun." So she had never, so she'd never met the lady that come to hospital. The lady didn't know about the incident. And I think that clearly there was something going on there. And that was the day that Amanda said she knew that there is something more than what we can see in this life, and something does come after. But that put the frighteners up her, and it made me think, well, does that mean any of these things can follow you around and you don't know when they're with you and when are they with you? And that kind of freaked me out a little.
Wow, that's a good story too. These all make very good.
But remember, these witnesses have names as well. So these aren't wives' tales. I'm telling you, these people are. I'm telling you who they are.
Yeah.
Where they worked. These are veterans of the NHS and the police and all the rest of it. And can I just say, very cheeky and unashamedly, because if I forget, I'll never forgive myself. As a result of interviewing all these people, Andy and Nicole, my plan is to start interviewing them on film. And I'm going to start putting them on YouTube. So I've created a channel called Policing the Unexplained. It's in its infancy. It's very new. And what I would ask is if yourself and your viewers could just go on to Policing the Unexplained on YouTube, and there's one video on there. Just have a look, like it. But if you could subscribe to the channel, I'm trying to get a really 100%. Good base, because this is what I see myself doing after the police service. So if it's going to be worth my while, I want to get some decent numbers so I've got the cameras, I've got the green screens, I've got the witnesses, I'm ready to go. I just want to get those subscribers and all the rest of it. So if I could unashamedly mention Policing the Unexplained on YouTube and get them to subscribe, that'd be cracking. And I don't know why I'm saying can I, because I've just done it twice.
Oh, she can.
No, well, you can't. Sorry.
So I've done a video for you. So when I was doing I said to you about the bio and creating the image and all that. I've created a 15-second video with the book and everything on it. So I'm going to play that now, and that'll give you all the details. As long as AI...
Oh, he's not playing the banjo?
No, not this time. I'm being nice. So
Andy
as
does
long
very
as
funny videos of people in the chat, like playing banjos and
dancing
and
dancing.
Sounds like a scene from Deliverance. Yeah.
Not far off it. So I'll just play this quickly, and it should give you all the information.
Oh. That was pretty cool.
There you go. Thank you. I'll send you that. You can have that, and you can use it if you want.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was nice. I had a Union flag on my arm, but the helmet was from the United States. I did notice that, but they do sell the best Kevlar. Yeah.
All right. There you go then.
Good to know.
I don't know. He just did it, and I'm like, yeah, I like that. I'll keep it.
I wouldn't have a clue how to do with that. I can make AI pictures, and I'm on some good sites for it, and ChatGPT and camera and all the rest of it. But I don't know how to do the videos and
Grok. They just use Grok. But it's a commands that you need to put in to get it to do exactly what you want it to do. And even when you do that, it ignores you and does whatever it wants.
Well, it'll fix the problem. It'll fix the problem you want, and then create two others.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And it's very annoying.
Put it in ChatGPT and be like, this is what I want. What do I need to tell Grok? And it'll tell me how to talk to Grok.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
While we were kind of on the subject of like gear and equipment and stuff, Benno from Oz, which is Australia, not like the Wizard of.
No, because that's not a real place, Nicole.
Is Roy allowed to carry pepper spray or a taser, considering they're not allowed a pew-pew in the UK?
Okay, so easy one to answer. So the long and short is we aren't routinely armed. I've got my own personal thoughts on that. I think we're living in the past. And I think because of the crime rate, I think we should be routinely armed. That's just my opinion. That is not the sentiment shared by, my chief constable or any of the other chiefs. So I'll point that out right now, but it certainly is mine. Only 4% of police officers in the UK will ever be trained in the use of a firearm. We're very low. So
I know one's a friend, but I know two people that were armed response.
Yeah, so
and it took them forever to get in there, and I think you can only stay in there. Is it 10 years or something?
No, I suppose each force. It depends on each force's policy. I mean, I served 6 years on the department. I came off, and I'll be honest, I felt rather unprotected without an SLP, a self-loading pistol on my hip. I did, because what happens if an unarmed officer comes across somebody with a firearm or a machete? What do you do? And I disagree, and I think we need to move on and get with the program. As for the pepper spray, so I think most forces now, they used to have a culmination of pepper spray and CS. Most forces now have parva spray. So what was happening is people were using CS spray, and you would hit the subject because you needed to subdue them. But because it was so volatile, you get people like 2 meters away, your own colleagues, and they'd get, oh my God, because they're like crystals in the air of CS floating around. So they'd like ping in your eye. And then as for taser, you have to do a course. And so response officers, unarmed, can have a taser. In my own force, would you believe you can only, this may get me in trouble, but this is me, and I'm allowed to have opinion. This is not North Korea. It's not 1984. If you are an inspector, you cannot carry a taser unless you're on the firearms operations unit. So I can't have a taser, right? Now, I have asked about it. I was actually the taser specific point of contact in Wolverhampton. So I was the one that said to people, yes, you can go on a course. I would put them forward for the course to the taser department and all the rest of it. I mean, I would like to see every single officer being equipped with a taser, because it's a deterrent. And if you're being attacked, and you're say 5'5" and the bad guy's 6'8", you want a deterrent. So I think everybody should be allowed to carry a taser, but it comes down, unfortunately, a lot of this to cost, because these are expensive pieces of kit. The cartridges, when you use them and fire the taser, need to be replaced, and there's a cost implication factor there. But it has frustrated me being an inspector on response. So I'm still going to burglaries in progress, robberies in progress, pub fights, crimes in action. But I can't carry a taser because apparently, and this will get me in trouble, because apparently these things here make me impervious to being assaulted. So I can't have one.
What?
I can't.
But the other officers can. That are lower than you.
But there are police constables and sergeants. Yeah. So that is the policy. I challenged it, and I am aware that people will.
Wow.
I'm aware that people will watch this, and there'll be some criticism of things I've said. But look, I love the police. I think in the main, I personally think West Mids Police is really, really, really well led by the senior officers that run it. It's a big force. When they make decisions, sometimes I probably think, well, I wouldn't have done that. But one must always remember, they are privy to things that I am not at the level of inspector. But at the same time, one of the most important aspects of policing is officer safety. And just because someone is an inspector or above, it doesn't mean they shouldn't be afforded the right to carry a taser at the least, But I guess it's an argument for another time. Yeah. I'll be quiet now because I'll get myself into even more trouble.
No, it's like, I went to Gettysburg last year, met up with Nicole and her husband. They picked me up from the airport, and we was at the Gettysburg Bash, and there's actually one of the stalls that was selling tasers for $40.
It's great. It's a different world, but they've got the right to. They have the right to bear arms under the Second Amendment, and we don't have that.
I went into the woods. We were doing an investigation at an abandoned zoo, and there were no less than 4 guns in this
vicinity.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think we've got some things right when it comes to firearms laws. We don't allow handguns, private ownership. I think as much like I like guns, I like clay pigeon shooting, I like shooting rifles, all the rest of it. But you know, to be fair, I think we've got it right with the handgun ban. They're easily to conceal, aren't they, and all the rest of it, and sell on. And we don't have mass shootings, do we? Like a lot of other countries do. So, you know, as much as
have mass tasings.
Yeah,
Don't
well,
have
the thing is
that.
well, you can taser someone, and it incapacitates them by sort of, you know, causing, you know, issues with the muscles, and you freeze up and you clench up. You know what? 7 or 8 seconds after that, the pain's gone. Whereas you get shot, it's a different kettle of fish. I have no idea how we got here from talking about UAPs, but it's been a blast.
It was a question in the chat. I asked our chat questions.
I don't even know who it was now, but shame on you, that question person. But anyway, right.
Maybe the Chief Constable.
I will look back. Let's see who it was. Benny.
Benno
started this. It was Benno.
Yeah.
Benno started
that's so probably because he's from Australia. Obviously, different rules and regulations in Oz, same as the US, different from the US and the UK. So
anyway, one more question
we'll let
for
you
me
off.
with a laser. Changing topics. Any experience of Men in Black?
Me personally, no, I haven't. I know a guy who was looking into a UFO matter where he was a police officer in the 70s, and he was looking into an incident where it was alleged that 2 British military jets chased a UAP over the North Sea. And he started digging into that. And about 2-3 days after he started digging into that, he was visited by some people at his place of work, and they were in suits, and they stated they were special branch, but he said he's seen enough fellow cops to know that they weren't. So, and the irony was they were wearing black suits as well. That is quite irony. So it's you know, like the film we meant, Will Smith. And, you know, they were trying to encourage him to stop writing to the RAF. They wanted to know what evidence he had. And they said, if you keep talking about it, you're going to be subject to prosecution under the Official Secrets Act. And he said, you can't prosecute me because I'm not the one that's leaking it, because the information had been leaked to him by the United States Air Force working with the RAF at a nearby base. So he'd had it leaked to him. And they were saying, well, okay, they broke it, but if you release it, you're breaking it. And he said, well, what's the issue if it didn't happen? You know? And so clearly something did, but that was in the 70s. So I personally have never had it, but he did. And the words were exchanged, and they left. He never ran with the story. I've tried to investigate it, and I've never got to the bottom of it. But bear in mind, it's 2026 now. The passage of time most likely probably never will.
No. So going on from that with Men in Black, would you say that they are ETs, or do you think they're more so part of the 3-letter agencies that are scattered about around the world?
3-letter agencies.
Yeah.
For me, you know, because if it was them upstairs, so to speak, non-human intelligence, they would just, you know, they've got the capability, as they do when people are taken or abducted, to they can get rid of your memories. So they would just do that, wouldn't they? Then you would never talk about it. So for me, you know, on the balance of probabilities, it's probably 3-letter agencies. And I think a lot of time it will be, oh, crikey, that was our craft being tested. We don't have any attention drawn to it. Go and visit them and make them feel uncomfortable and shut them up. And then occasions, if it is non-human intelligence, they don't want you talking about that either, because they don't want a light shining on that. But for me, definitely shady government agencies trying to shut you up.
Yeah. Cool. Right, we've got another question for you. We've got 2
Raoul
actually.
wants to know real quick, Roy, when you're coming to the US to do a book signing, are you making
when am I coming to the US to do a book signing? Well, I mean, you know, funny, I was there not too long back at Pittsburgh, and I've been to Atlanta and New York and a few other places, but you know, that's a big thing going over there. It would depend how popular the book, you know, got to be in the US, and all the rest of it. It's doing well, and who knows what the future holds. I got a phone call from Ross Coulthard a couple of weeks back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that sort of knocked my socks off. And he said, yeah, we need to get you on this podcast. And he did. It just hasn't come out yet. So, someone's taking notice of the things I've got to say. Someone's taking notice of the book. So maybe if it grows and grows and something happens and somebody arranges something, I can jump on a plane and go over. But even if you get over to the United States, it's a rather large country. So where do you go and where do you do it and all the rest of it?
New York.
Yeah.
New York.
I always start off
That's
in
where
New
Raoul
York.
and I.
Yeah.
Well,
I've been
Raoul's
to New
from
York.
Jersey, but-
I have actually been to New York, and that is a cool place.
It's not bad, I suppose.
Yeah, you didn't want to go home.
No, well, yeah. I never do when I go away.
I know.
That's the thing. Don't matter where I go, even if it's Blackpool. Well, yeah, I suppose it is. Right, I've got another question for you from 40 and 23. So he's saying, Roy mentioned the 866. Oh, you cleared it. Does he have any recent reports from the area? We're often in the area, quite remote, not heavily populated in many sections of it. Good paranormal territory.
So paranormal stuff, I haven't had anything from up there. I've got 2 UAP accounts. One was from a guy called Officer H. He was elected to remain anonymous. So he's a member of the National Crime Agency, which are a very sneaky beaky agency up to a lot of skullduggery, right? And the deal with sort of the importation of drugs and narcotics, firearms, and do a brilliant job trying to curtail that. And Officer H from the NCA, he's driving down the A66 and he can hear these jets. He's a really big fan of military jets, so he winds the window down, and as he looks out, he can see 2 jets coming from the side and behind him, and just in front of it was like an oblong, massive craft with these circular things on the side of it that had these flashing lights on. And he said, imagine a drone where you get these big circular apparatus that have like the fans in them that keep the drone up. And he said, but it wasn't that. He said it was just 2 circular things you could see through them. There was no propellers or nothing. There were just these odd things attached to this massive oblong metallic craft. And he said, and that was being pursued over the A66 by 2 British fighter jets. Now, eventually, the topography of the road, took the officer away from this UAP jet chase, which was not far from a place called Warcop. And then I had another officer called Jean Gordon contact me from Northumbria Police. And while she was on the A66, they pulled over in a lay-by to swap driving because a daughter was tired. So they swapped over. And as they're swapping over at the front of the car, that's when they've seen it. And it was like this weird saucer-shaped craft hovering in the sky about 30, 40 meters above the car with these weird lights. And she said it wasn't anything that she's ever seen before or since. And she said she felt really unnerved. And I could tell from the tonality when I spoke to her on the phone a couple of times and the email she sent that it really frightened her. Now, her daughter was terrified. It was like, just drive, because she said this was an unnatural craft. I asked her, bottom dollar, what do you think it was? And she just said, I'm open-minded. But there's a lot going on the A66. You've only got to Google it. Yeah. And there's tons of stuff that people have seen up there. And it's because it's an area where, quite rightly, as there's a person put the question on, states, a lot of the area is not very well populated, and therefore there's no light pollution. And I think that's why you can see so far, and we perhaps notice a lot more things up in the sky.
Yeah. Right, I've got a question for you. Well, I remember just for that what I seen. So this is an AI image for something that happened to me a few years ago while I was at work in Suffolk. Well, I was Kings Lynn, so I was like between Suffolk and Norfolk area. Okay. And you might be able to shed some light on it. So this was what I seen. So this is AI. This isn't the image that I took. So I was driving down near Sandringham, and my sat nav started going all funny, started glitching and that. So I pulled over into a little lay-by. Wouldn't do anything. So then I grabbed my phone, tried going on the sat nav on my phone, wasn't working. So I restarted both of them. As I'm waiting for them both to come back on, this, exactly as you see it now, comes past. So it's Smith's Logistics, it's red and yellow, it's on a low loader, police escort. As you know, the bikes go through to stop the traffic to keep the flow of it going so it doesn't have to stop. There's a couple of unmarked vehicles as well, probably about 7 to 9 different police vehicles, bikes, cars and vans. Well, this went through. What you see on the back of that is exactly the same as I seen. It is tight, airtight, watertight, green tarp wrapped around it with the ratchet straps, but it had the full police escort. Now, it wasn't a military vehicle that it was on. I said it was, I remember it being Smith's Logistics and being yellow and red like that. But every time I've seen machinery or turbines or anything like that on the back of a low loader, you've just got the wide load escort vehicle with the orange lights. It's never had the blue lights escort, but this one did, and it looked like your typical UFO on the back of it.
So sometimes with the wide load escorts, what I can confirm is that we, the police, do that. So, for example, the on the motorway, especially if it's so big, sometimes you see porta cabins on the back of these trucks. Don't you?
Yeah, and they go over 2 lanes.
If it's over a certain, length or width or whatever, they will call up the police. And it used to be CMPG, the Central Motorways Policing Group, that escorted them through West Mids and then Staffordshire, and that's defunct now, and they've returned to their own forces and the Great Divorce, as we call it, with motorway policing. So we look after our own sort of area of the motorway. But what it is up or down your specific neck of the woods, I don't know, but they'll have similar policies. So we, the police, do on occasion do that. What that was, I mean, God only knows. It could have been something completely innocuous and then with something else on top of it. And because then I think if it was so obvious with the saucer shape and it was something unnatural, why would we risk transporting it with
and it was around and it was around 11 o'clock, like just before midday. And the other thing is as well, because I drive for a living, so I'm on motorways and roads like 8-9 hours a day. Whenever there's anything on the back of a loader like that, it has the tarp around it, but it's loose. You can see it flapping. You can see what's behind it. It's not like a second skin, but this was for this what looked like a UFO.
Yeah, so, I mean, did you try and write to the company or anything, or?
No, but the thing, so what happened, so with me, the phone and me scanner at work, both of them stopped working and were glitching and they wouldn't work. And as soon as they passed, within about 10-20 seconds of them passing, they both started working again.
Yeah, so it could be something on there that's,
like
affecting modern technology. Yeah. I had a very similar incident in Suffolk with a drone in Rendlesham Forest near the base. Yeah, not above the base, because that would be wrong and I'd be in trouble doing that. So it wasn't above the base. But that drone, there's a button on the drone. It's like a recall button. You press it, it'll come back to exactly where it took off from. Yes. And on 3 occasions when I launched it there, I had to, as it come round, it's sort of going mad, going in a big circle, and every time it come round near to the control room, I'd have to then just get it for 2 or 3 seconds under my control, and eventually I crashed it into some bushes, and I had to do that on 3 occasions. And it's just it's nothing, I think, spooky or alien. I think just I think the government's got the right to put measures in place so perhaps nosy people like myself or anyone else doesn't go over bases and all the rest of it. And perhaps when they're transporting stuff from A to B, if it's of a sensitive nature, they might have some technology on board that interferes with technology. Who can say?
Well, that's what I was thinking, because I know around that area they are quite narrow country lanes and bends and winds and that. So I know, because it's a low load, and when it slows down, it takes ages for them to start up again. So I understand like the police escort with the bikes and cars stopping at each intersection, stopping the traffic so they can keep the flow of the low loader going, because there's a lot of level crossings around there as well. So these certain roads where there could be 4 or 5 train lines that go over within 100-200 metre distance from the first to the last. So I get that. It just seemed a bit too out of limits, sort of thing. The fact that it was so tight round what looks obviously like a UFO.
Yeah.
It
I
just
mean, my
seemed
honest opinion is
unreal.
if there was anything like that, they would have put it inside of, something square,
Yeah,
then put the tarpaulin over it, and then put it on there, and then there would have been an escort, and you would have never
yeah,
suspected anything else, wouldn't you? So
yeah.
for me, I personally think on the balance of probabilities that it was probably just something innocuous. Because you've got to think about the pareidolia effect, where something innocent with shadows and something over it can look like something that it isn't.
I just watched it drive past.
Yeah.
I was like probably 10, 12 foot away from it. And
Yeah. I mean,
it just seemed...
the only answer there is, I guess, would be to, if you got the time and the date, is to write to them and say, look, you've got no obligation to tell me, but here's I'm really interested. What the hell was that?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, if it was a UAP, they're not going to write back and go, oh, you've got me, it's a UAP. But at least you'll have an answer, even if it's a lie, won't you?
Yeah.
But they might say, actually, it's this, and then they might tell you what it is. You can then go and Google and go, oh, do you know what? It was that.
Yeah.
Or they'll tell you is that, and you Google it, and they're like, "No way in hell was it that."
It didn't ever exist.
But then you could reply again, and you could say, "Actually, no way in hell it's that. It's because it can't be." And then you can see what reply you get again, and you just keep replying until they, either tell you to go away or they just ignore you. That's what I do. I keep writing my letters until they ignore me.
Yeah. No. Thanks for that. Do appreciate it. Right. Have we any more questions, Nicole?
No.
Have you got anything? Because we're coming up to the just
goes,
over the hour and a half mark.
It goes very, very quick. No, a lot to think about and a lot to look into. I definitely want to check out the book and see some of these stories because they are wild stories.
Yes.
But the fact there's a face and a name and a real person behind them.
Yeah. Of the 250, I think only 9 or 10 are anonymous. But they're in some very, specific roles in the police where they really shouldn't be giving their ID. That's why I've named Officer A, B, C, D, E, etc.
Yeah.
But like I said, the majority are named, and some of the accounts are really they're nuts. But as I said at the start of the show, just because they're nuts or bonkers, it does not mean they are not true.
No. Totally get that. So thank you so much for coming on. There's the link again to your YouTube channel. If you haven't already, like myself, but I will do once I finish this, please go and subscribe. Get the book. Do you say the book's already out, isn't it?
The book's already out. You can buy it normal book form, you can buy it in Kindle version, or you can buy it in audio. All three are available on Amazon, Waterstones, you name it. Available absolutely everywhere. Perfect.
Thank you for that. And where else can we find you? Are you available? And I know you've got to be careful, but are you about on any other platforms, social media?
Not yet, no. Literally, if somebody wants to get hold of me, I will be in the future, I'm sure, because as this grows, it'll get bigger. But at the moment, I'm doing, working on a shift, 2 early, 2 late, 2 nights, and then I have my days off, and trying to fit all this in between, 24/7 response duties and other interesting hobbies I've got. It is tough. But if people really want to get hold of me at the moment, it would be via, email address, contact@policeandtheunexplained.com, or the YouTube channel, Police and the Unexplained. I'm easy to find. Easy to find.
Well, massive thank you for coming on. Really do appreciate it. And I hope everything works out exactly how you want it to. Good luck with the book, the channel, and everything else you've got going on.
All right. So, thanks for having the show, Andy, and you, Nicole.
No, you are more than welcome. And if you ever want to come back on, just give me a shout and we can sort something out. If you get any new cases or want to go forward with it, you are more than welcome to come back on at any time.
Thank you.
We are back not Friday, right?
No, not on Friday. The guest cancelled, but I might be going out if the weather stays clear, which it has been doing. I'm going to try and find a high vantage point near to where I am and do a sky watch. So fingers crossed, and I don't get abducted.
I am actually talking UFOs in the Hudson Valley tonight on Paranormal Tea Time. We have a guest who is compiling a report, who's looking into a wave of UFO sightings in around the Hudson Valley back in the 80s. So that should be interesting.
Cool. Excellent.
And that will be live tonight at 8:30.
1:30 a.m. UK time. Yep. Right, so that's it. I'm not, like I said, not doing the live stream as such on Friday. I will be back next Monday when I'm going to be talking with Ronnie Dugdale, another Rendlesham investigator. So he's going to be coming on. I had the opportunity to meet him last year, thanks to Mike Millward and Og and everybody else. So that's it. Thank you everyone in the chat. Thank you all so much for your questions. And if I'm not on Friday, it'll definitely be about Monday, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's it. Thanks again. Thank you again, Roy. Thank you, Nicole. And see you all soon. Take care and goodbye. See you later.
Signal acquisition initiated. Cross-referencing anomaly archives. Pattern recognition complete. Aether 8 online. Proceed.
Welcome back. You found it again. The UFO Files. Broadcasting round the clock on Alien 8 UK. Red Eye listeners, insomniacs, sky watchers, van drivers on the long haul. You're tuned to the only station that stares back at the dark with you. 24 hours, we circle the same old questions. Lights over the north, shadows over the south. Phone lines open, headphones on, blinds half drawn. I got case notes spread like takeaway menus. Highlighters bleeding through until sunrise. Coordinates scribbled on coffee stain napkins from a truck stop somewhere near the East Coast. We don't do jump scares here, we do the long stare out the window at 3:33 a.m. when the estate's asleep and the sky feels too crowded. You call him with that voice, half whisper, half dare. First time chatter, long time watcher, and the hairs rise on every neck in frequency range. Maybe it's satellites, maybe it's stories we tell, so we're not alone in these flickering terraces and rented rooms. Either way, keep your dial right here. This is the UFO Files. Alien 8 UK. All night, every night. Welcome back.
Alien 8 UK.